Well, greetings and salutations, and welcome back to the second half of today's upload. Last night, I posted a poll saying, hey, paranormal or conspiracy? And they were about tied up, so what did I do? I said, let's do both. So, this is tonight's conspiracy side. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. My merch displayed directly under this video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. The audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. And the 1%ers have been hiding this on us for a very long time. It's time we dive into it. Shall we? So yesterday I shared with you a very interesting concept of the Illuminati and whatnot. This is another one that I stumbled across that I am so fascinated with this stuff. And like I said, I have been reading into this stuff for a while. Back when I was like 20, 21, when I got Behold the Pale Horse by William Cooper. Actually, that night I bought Behold the Pale Horse. I bought the Urentia Foundation book, and I bought, I think it was like some spirit book from David Pickman. He was an author from my area. But, I was obsessed with Behold the Pale Horse. I've literally had to buy that book 3 different times, because friends have stolen it. I'm like, dude, it's not Abby Hoffman's book. For those of you guys who don't know that joke, Abby Hoffman wrote a book called Steal This Book. Which ironically I was house sitting once and I did. I was like 14 or 15 and it said steal this book, so I did. And it was like, it's one of the original ones, the original copyrighted from like 1971 maybe? No, older than that. It's old, but it's cool. Anyway, I want to share this with you because I was fascinated and then blown away, and I think you will be as well. Doc Marquis, in his book Secrets of the Illuminati, has drawn this great seal of the New World Order depicting the various influences and organizations actively involved in the drive to the New World Order. This New World Order seal is not official. Rather, it is simply Marquis' depiction of the occult nature of this new system. Let us begin at the top. At the all-seeing eye atop of the page, looking down on all of the activity being carried out on his behalf, is Satan depicted as the Eye of Horus. The word eye depicts the extremely self-centered, self-proclaimed wise and righteous man who is working mightily for the Lord Satan to achieve his new system. Which, as in the witches of Salem, is extremely important because the New World Order will be achieved only on the basis of witchcraft practiced in many different forms and by millions of people during the past 2 centuries. Witchcraft is nothing more, nothing less than the worship of Satan. Out of the ITC, of which flows lines that appear red. Here, Doc's original rendering showed these lines as blood red depicted the human blood, which has already flowed, and the human blood which is planned to flow, in order, that is, the system may be established. Notice that this blood flows on top of and around the Illuminati. All 3 blood flows pour upon the satanic altar and off the seal into the world. Christians should not be surprised, because much Bible prophecy speaks of the great persecution and slaughter during the time of the Great Tribulation. The outer circle has many organizations which are striving mightily and cooperatively for the New World Order. They are the Roman Catholic Church, Satanism, active worship of Satan, secret societies, Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing game. Note, this game system is the perfect instrumental manual for practicing Satanism. Satanic Sabbaths, 8 holy days per year, each of which requires human sacrifice. Hebrew letters written between the English words are from the Jewish secret society, the Kabbalah. They mean witchcraft today for as much within the ancient Babylon. Translated, this means that the witchcraft being practiced today is the same as the practiced in ancient Babylon. Further, his Hebrew message is printed backwards in the ancient tradition of Satanism. The Jewish Kabbalah is the most influential of all secret societies in the drive to the New World Order. The anti-Semitic emphasis notwithstanding, the second circle is the most influential human activity possible. The organizations and or forces are the Illuminati, secret society modeled after the Roman Catholic Jesuits. From the inception on May 1st, 1776, Adam Weishaupt, the Illuminati has been actively worshiping Satan and developing a plan for instituting the New World Order. Freemasonry. Freemasonry has long been an occult secret society with many of the goals of the New World Order. However, Masons taught that all the necessary changes inherent in the New World Order would take place naturally as a result of human evolution. From 1777 through 1782, Weishaupt's men infiltrated every Masonic lodge in Europe in order to infiltrate their ideals of actual revolution being necessary to implement these changes. In 1782, Freemasonry agreed with the Illuminati as to the necessity of revolution, signing on as co-leaders in the drive to the New World Order. When the Illuminati was put out of business in 1785, Freemasonry became the undisputed leader of the New World Order movement. The two seals of our doom, the two great seals of the United States. The Masonic leaders on the European continent believed they must found the North American continent as the New Atlantis. This New Atlantis would lead the world into the New World Order. The United States was so crucially important to the achievement of this goal that supernaturally designed great seals were delivered to Thomas Jefferson to ensure that America would progress according to the occult plan. This is why Marquis placed the two great seals of the United States upon Satan's altar. The blood flowing from the altar between the seals is symbolic of hundreds of millions of people killed thus far in the 20th century to advance the New World Order, and of the billions who are planned to die in the immediate future. Next is the House of the Rothschild. The satanic vision of the New World Order could never have been realized not it had been for the immense wealth of the Rothschild family. One of Weishaupt's first significant backers was Mr. Rothschild. Family wealth has since been indispensable in the path to this system. But why should Christians be surprised? For the Bible states, the love of money is the root of all evil. 2 Timothy 6:10. Indeed, this most evil system in all history is rooted firmly and deeply in the love of money. The Rothschild family is also one of history's prime examples of generational witchcraft. Exodus 23 through 5. Prime example of the American family who is so involved is the Rockefeller family, also very heavily into the witchcraft. Next, we have rock and roll music industry. A former Luciferian like Marquis has no trouble understanding that rock and roll music is pure, unadulterated witchcraft. Christian authors in the past have made such a statement only to be laughed at by teens anxious to keep their beloved music. Rock and roll is the perfect medium by the Satanists can teach youngsters to the precepts of Satanism. This goal is to accomplish by including human minds into a higher stage of consciousness, mild hypnosis, so that Satanists can penetrate directly into the subconscious. Rock and roll is penetrating 2 entire generations of children for the values of the New World Order. The Black Pope. In 1541, the Pope created the satanic secret society known as the Jesuits. The goal of the Jesuits was to reverse the Reformation, to root out heretics, and to generally wage a constant state of war against all enemies of the Church. The Jesuits were subjected to the absolute, total control of a general who was known as the Black Pope. This Black Pope is an adept in the black arts of Satanism. While the Jesuits are bound to obey both the black and white popes, the Black Pope is believed to wield the real absolute power within the Vatican. Beginning in the early 1700s, the Black Pope has consistently moved the Roman Catholic Church deeper into the practice of witchcraft. This goal of officially taking over the Roman Catholic Church of Satan has arrived at the late stage whereby the public pope is now using a non-traditional crucifix, the one called the Twisted Cross. This Twisted Cross was created by Satanism in the Middle Ages as the symbol of the Antichrist. Thus, when Pope John Paul II holds this Twisted Cross up to the faithful, as he does constantly, they are unknowingly bowing to the symbol of the Antichrist. This is one of those never-before occurrences in the world history that strongly suggests the beginning of the Great Tribulation generally, and the Roman Catholic Pope as the false prophet specifically. Satan's inner circle. Notice the hexagram on which Satan's altar is resting. Since this hexagram is surrounded by a circle, it becomes a demon trap, which we now know is the most powerful tool possible to conjure up a demon so that he can be forced to do that which the witch wants him to do. Thus, we have Satan represented at the top of this entire New World Order plan, the all-seeing eye. And at the very inner core of the demon trap, Satan's altar is highly significant. Human sacrifice is required on this altar, as are abominations against God of every conceivable stripe. Marquis has chosen to drive home this point by pouring human blood over the altar and by showing the Antichrist inverted cross on one of the ends. The importance of the United States of America is clearly represented by the 2 seals of our doom. Let us now step backward and look at the organizations contained within this great New World Order seal from another angle. Since this New World Order is to be comprised of 3 distinct elements, spiritual, political, economical, let us examine each of these organizations as to which of these 3 elements each represent. Spiritual element. Satan, represented by the all-seeing eye, the altar, the demon trap, secret societies, the Illuminati, the Rosicrucians, and the Freemasons, the Roman Catholicism, the Catholic Church, and the Black Jesuit Pope, rock and roll music industry, Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game, economic element, the House of Rothschild. Now, the political element, the United States of America, represented by our official Great Sioux Seals. Isn't it terribly revealing that the only political entity which Marquis lists as being an integral part of the drive to the New World Order is the United States of America? Furthermore, this country is listed as the official seal of Satan's altar, next to the heart of Satan himself. Why only the United States of America? There have been other, more wicked and more deadly countries in this deadly 20th century. For example, the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republic. Since the beginning of the atheistic empire, communism has killed over 2 million people and imprisoned tens of millions of more. They've attacked the Jews. They have been responsible for untold misery and death for the last 80 years, but most importantly, their goals and their methods are identical to that of the Illuminati. Why doesn't this most knowledgeable Luciferian Illuminist Doc Marquis list the USSR in his New World Organization chart? Does he know something we don't? Adolf Hitler's Nazi Germany. Hitler and his government were avowed Satan worshippers. In their huge public meetings, they led the adoring German people in an actual satanic worship. The Nazi war machine plunged the world into the greatest war of all of history, and it engineered the most systematically slaughter of human beings in all of history. Nazi Germany systematically killed 2/3 of the world's population of Jews, and they were beginning to kill Christians at the time of their defeat. But most importantly, their goal and methods were the New World Order. Hitler repeatedly called for the establishment of this new global system and repeatedly used the term New World Order. Why doesn't this Illuminati trained and educated Luciferian alumnus, Doc Marquis, list Nazi Germany in his New World Organization chart? Does he know something we don't? When you understand the reason that only the United States of America is listed in this New World Order organization chart, you will be amazed to the point of denial. In yesterday's upload, I mentioned the Committee of 300. They worked for or were directly under the 13 families of the Illuminati. This is kind of who they were and what they were supposed to do. This is an extract from Conspirators' Hierarchy, the story of the Committee of 300 by John Coleman. Number 1, to establish the one world government / New World Order with a unified church and monetary system under their direction. The one world government began to set up this church in 1920s and 30s, for they realized the need for a religious belief inherent in mankind must have an outlet, and therefore set up a church body to channel the belief in the direction they desired. Number 2, to bring out the utter destruction of all national identity and national pride, which was a primary consideration if the concept of the one world government was to work. 3, to engineer and bring about the destruction of religion, and more especially the Christian religion, with one exception, their own creation, as mentioned above. Number 4, to establish the ability to control each and every person through the means of mind control, what is called technotronics, which would create human-like robots, and a system of terror, which would make Felix Red Terror look like children at play. Number 5, to bring about the end of all industrialization and the production of nuclear-generated electric power in what they call the post-industrial zero-growth society. Accepted are the computer and service industries. United States industries that remain will be exported to countries such as Mexico, where abundant slave labor is available. As we saw in 1993, this will become a fact through the passage of the North American Free Trade Agreement, known as the NAFTA. Unemployables in the United States in the wake of industrial destruction will become opium, heroin, and or cocaine addicts, or become statistics in the annihilation of the access population, process we know today as Global 2000 Report. Number 6, to encourage and eventually legalize the use of drugs and make pornography an art form, which will be widely accepted, eventually become quite a commonplace. Which, if you think about it, it already is. I mean, there is some, like, pornography is sometimes labeled art. And some countries have legalized all drugs. I mean, look at America. I'm not saying marijuana is a drug, but back in the day, it was considered and still is a classified drug. It's legalized. They're only moving. I mean, pretty soon it's going to be. Weed's better than alcohol. No, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it's happening as I speak right now. Number 7, to bring about depopulation of large cities according to the trial run carried out by Pol Pot regime in Cambodia. It is interesting to note that Pol Pot's genocidal plans were drawn up in the U.S. by one of the clubs of Rome's research foundations and overseen by Thomas Enders, a high-ranking State Department official. It is also interesting that the committee is currently seeking to reinstate Pol Pot butchers in Cambodia. Number 8, to suppress all scientific development except for those deemed beneficial by the Illuminati, especially targeted as nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. Particularly hated are the fusion experiments currently being scorned and ridiculed by the Illuminati and its jackals of the press. Development of the fusion torch would blow the Illuminati's conception of the limited natural resources right out of the window. A fusion torch, properly used, could create unlimited and as yet untapped natural resources, even from the most ordinary substance. Fusion torch uses are legion and would benefit mankind in a manner which, as yet, is not even remotely comprehended by the public. This is weird because I was thinking about a mention in the news that I heard that Putin is talking about nuclear energy, and that's what he wants to, continue happening. This, and that. Um, could that be why we are kind of Mr. Biden's got his panties in a bunch? Who knows? Because, I mean, the Ukrainian president is saying, hey, there's no one here. Like, leave us alone. It's okay, Big Joe. Yet, what is going on? I mean, very strange. Number 9, to cause by means of limited wars in the advanced countries, by means of starvation and diseases in third world countries, the death of 3 billion people by the year 2050. People they call useless eaters. The Committee of 300 Illuminati commissioned Cyrus Vance to write a paper on this subject of how to bring about such genocide. The paper was produced under the title Global 2000 Report and was accepted and approved for action by former President James Earl Carter and Edwin Muskie, then Secretary of State, for and on behalf of the United States government. Under the terms of the Global 2000 Report, the population of the United States is to be reduced by 100 million by the year of 2050. Number 10, to weaken the moral fiber of the nation and demoralize workers in the labor class by creating mass unemployment as jobs dwindle due to post-industrial zero-growth policies introduced by the Club of Rome. The report envisages demoralized and discourages workers resorting to drugs and alcohol. The youth of the land will be encouraged by means of rock music and drugs to rebel against the status quo, thus undermining and eventually destroying the family unit. In this regard, the committee commissioned Tavistock Institute to prepare a blueprint as to how this could be achieved. Tavistock directed Stanford Research to undertake the work under the direction of Professor Willis Harman. This work later became known as Aquarian Conspiracy. Number 11, to keep people everywhere from deciding their own destinies by means of one created crisis after another, and then managing such crisis. This will confuse and demoralize the population to the extent where, faced with too many choices, apathy on the massive scale will result. In the case of the United States, an agency of crisis management is already in place. It is called the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, whose existence was first enclosed in 1980. 12, to introduce new cults and continue to boost those already functioning, which include rock music gangsters such as the Rolling Stones, a gangster group much favored by European black nobility, and all of the Travistock created rock groups, which began with the Beatles. The Beatles! Damn it, man. Number 13, to continue to build up the cult of Christian fundamentalism begun by the British East India Company's servant Darby, which will be misused to strengthen the Zionist state of Israel by identifying with the Jews through the myth of God's chosen people, and by donating very substantial amounts of money to what they mistakenly believe is a religious cause in the furtherance of Christianity. Number 14, to press for the spread of religious cults such as the Muslim Brotherhood, the Muslim fundamentalists, the Skies, and to carry out mind control experiments of Jim Jones, the Son of Sam type. It is worth noting that the late Khamenei was a creation of the British Military Intelligence Division 6 MI6. This detailed work spelled out the step-by-step process which the United States government implemented to put Khamenei in power. Number 15, to export religious liberation ideas around the world so as to undermine all existing religions, but more especially the Christian religion. This began with the Jesuit liberation theology that brought to the end of the Somoza family rule in Nicaragua, and which today is destroying El Salvador. Now 25 years into a civil war, Costa Rica and Honduras are also embroiled in revolutionary activities instigated by the Jesuits. One very active entity engaged in the so-called liberation technology is the communist-oriented Mary Knoll Mission. This accounts for the extensive media attention to the murder of 4 of Mary Knoll's so-called nuns in El Salvador a few years ago. The 4 nuns were communist subversive agents, and their activities were widely documented by the government in El Salvador. The United States press and the new media refused to give us any space or coverage to the mass of the documentation possessed by Salvadorian government, which proved what the Mary Knoll Mission nuns were doing in the country. Mary Knoll is in service in many countries and placed a leading role in bringing communism to Rhodesia, Angola, and South Africa. Really quick, the movie The Nun, weren't they in like El Salvador? I think. Probably not, but I think. And there was a lot of weird stuff. You know, the more I think about it, the more I realize that Hollywood is telling the truth to us, but only in a way to kind of like play with us. And they are not part of the 13 families of the Illuminati. I believe Hollywood is, part of the Committee of 300. 16, to cause a total collapse of the world's economies and engender total political chaos. Number 17, to take control of all foreign and domestic policies of the United States. Number 18, to give the fullest support to supranational institutions such as the UN, the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, the Bank of International Settlements, the World Court, and, as far as possible, make local institutions less effective by gradually phasing them out or bringing them under the mantle of the United Nations. 19, to penetrate and subvert all governments and work from within to destroy the sovereign integrity of the nations represented by them. And finally, to organize a worldwide terrorist apparatus and to negotiate with terrorists whenever terrorism activities take place. It will be recalled that it is the Benito Craxi who persuaded the Italian and United States government to negotiate with the Red Bridges kidnappers of Prime Minister Moro and General Dozer. As an aside, Dozer was placed under strict orders not to talk what happened to him, should he ever break that silence. He will no doubt be mad, a horrible example of, in the manner in which Henry Kissinger dealt with Aldo Moro, Ali Buddha, and General Zia-ul-Haq. The picture that you guys are seeing is the Great Seal that was spoken about. It's pretty crazy, right? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's second half of the upload. Please be kind to each other, and may the Great Spirit watch over us all, and may He guide us down our path in life. Until tomorrow, my friends, until tomorrow.